Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here for the 22nd episode of our first run through the House of Light expansion for Book of Hours, playing as the Archaeologist. We're just at the tail end of the day from the previous episode, obviously. But in this case, we're opening up a new room. We're going to be waiting for the next day. Oh, sorry, I need to find out something to do with my tryst. But we're just waiting for one more dish for the salon. Then we'll be making a bunch of ink and moving on. I did have a little bit of disappointment in that. I thought I would be able to make things with the ambergris chunk, but unfortunately, I can't put tryst in that place. So, and we do have a couple of other options in terms of things like the telescope, but we just don't have the opportunity to put the ambergris chunk in there. So really, I'm looking for either something that can take, I think it was Sickle and Eclipse that would allow me to make Catwink. So if something will take Edge, Edge and Moth, I suppose would be an example there. I would, Edge, Moth, and a material. I would use that to make Catwink, but until then, I'm going to have to make do without. So, let's just take a minute to think about what I have available to me. So we've got the Fear. I do also have the Tryst. So I suppose the obvious... maybe we don't worry about the Fear in this case, but I guess the obvious step would just be for me to get the Old Wound. So explore an old wound and awaken the violent resonances within. Night has fallen, dawn will come soon. Now, as far as things to keep overnight, I think the Cheerful Ditty is the one that we still want to hang on to. There's some value in having the Gossip, just because it does have a Grail aspect for it, but in this case... Well, okay, let me just double check that. With the Arab, we would have to... Yeah, we've got everything we need to read the Orchid Transfiguration, so we're just going to sit on that. Not today. The mysteries in this have defeated me for now. And as they used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So I'm not sure whether or not we're going to use another fisherman today. I think probably it would be better for me to get the Catwink first. One thing that might be interesting too is I'll probably get a satisfaction from reading... You know, maybe that's another way of handling it. If I thought satisfaction was going to be hard to get, I could get the satisfaction from reading the Orchid Transfiguration's a feast, and then we could have turned that around for a birth. I don't know if that would have made the difference, but... Anyway, the Severin Chamber. In the days of the DeWolfs, this chamber was reserved for the heir of the house, though it was originally furnished for Hafren, the woman of uncertain lineage who became Baron Walter's mother and bequeathed her unusual pale eyes and hair to Walter and his descendants. All right. I'm going to slightly rearrange... It just saves me all the trouble from moving outside the areas I'm normally looking. I wonder if I have the precision to do this in one go now. Okay, so we can try and open the serpent-haunted bedroom at some point. Now, we still don't have Reverend Timothy yet, so I'm going to need to put some effort into unlocking him as well. It'd be better if I had Mr. Kill first. But we'll see. Move gingerly while the pain lasts. So we're going to switch this around a little bit. These are the times I start to regret being a little stingy with my elements of the soul, but hopefully we're going to see how this pays off reasonably soon. Okay. Now, I think the way I'm going to handle this one, I'm going to use my health to make the jumble. This is going to seem a little weird at the start, but there's a specific order in which I want to do these things. So we should also add spicing. I'm going to use the spices and savors skill for this. Make orange jumble, a dish with forge, grail, heart, and lantern. Now notice I didn't wait to see what the weather would bring. In fact, I'm also going to use the shaft right away here with fixing and mending. There's not much work on offer in Brandcrude, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. And on top of that, I'm actually going to go straight out the gate and get ourselves an impulse. Or not impulse, an intuition. That's impulses, this is intuitions. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Now, I do want to see what the weather brings, but I will be reading a book fairly soon. I've carried a memory like a flambeau, safe through the mazes of night. Fog. All right, so that's a big moon. That's the one thing that would have... this is something I really can't afford to ignore as far as the... All right, well, let me just take a minute to think about this, actually. Because there's two possibilities that we have. Either we use this to open one of the bigger moon areas, so probably the shrouded space. Rustling Stair is the... Okay, well, let's just see what this realistically opens up for me. So we said we had 9. Well, okay, so really what fog does is fog gives me 1 extra moon, so that opens up the 10 for me. And I'm not going to lie, the Noctonary, which is in the shrouded space, would actually be pretty helpful. But let's think about this from another angle. So let's say, on the other hand, I want to try and read a book. So with that, I've got 4, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we're back to the same temptation. Do I feel lucky? I definitely feel lucky punk with the Tryst. Yeah. Okay, I've got a really clear idea of how today's working out. So we're going to get another confounding parable. Now, the thing that's nice about this is I don't need to... So I've got the elements of the soul. So if we have the same thing that happened to us last time... we have a backup in the form of the Tryst, and if we don't use the extra memories, then I just use them as inputs to the inks. So this is kind of a no-lose situation for me. So what about the rest? Like, why did I use my health at the start? Well, the reason for this, and the reason why I wanted to make sure that I kept the spice scales available, is I believe if I do a combination of core, sea stories, spice scales, that will allow me to read the Orchid Transfigurations Volume 1, and that could potentially turn into something that I can use to read the Intimations of Skin. It's not a guarantee. In fact, it's actually quite unlikely that this is going to turn out. Actually, if I think about this all the way through, so what's the best I could do? I could get 2 Grail from... So the memory would give me 2 more, so that's 6. Then 7 from using the Arab. But then we can do things like get the gossip again. I still think that's a risk that's worth taking. So yeah, we're going to run ahead with this one. And we have an offer from Oriflammes. Oriflammes established 1776, Sense Science Sciences. Dear librarian, we would like to offer you this opportunity to purchase, and I think this is the Red Book of Brittany. It is. So, well, actually, we'll just give him the silver spentria. Oriflammes, thanks you for your custom. Not an easy one for us to read, but generally I like to acquire books rather than put them back into the deck. It's usually fair to say that we're going to be in a position where we can read the power. Like, actually, so I'd put it to you this way. The really powerful ones are the ones that I shake my fist to the heavens and say, why didn't I buy that when I had the chance? So, As long as I can afford it. Obviously, if I think I'm going to be short a language or something else that'll be enabling a bit more, I'll be more reluctant, but... Okay, so, orange jumble. They should be the size of teacup rims and should curl their crisp edges, faintly pink as the underneath of a young mushroom. Lady Jekyll, Kitchen Essays. So the salon is ready. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We just need to write the invitations and get everybody to attend. Now, Fraser Strathcoyne is going to be a little bit harder than the others, but we'll still make it work. I may actually want to restore the core at some point. Against the Sisterhood of the Knot and the foulness of their depraved customs, Hieronymus Pseudo-Hypnotimachus wrote this furious screed about the sinister influence of the Sisterhood of the Knot on his own Church of the Unconquered Sun. Hieronymus claims that the powers served by the Sisterhood of the Knot made an arrangement. The Thunderskin loved the Yew, and the Grail destroyed him as restitution for the destruction of the Axe's loved ones. Hieronymus's writing becomes incoherent with rage at this point. Hieronymus recovers his composure eventually to describe how the Thunderskin entered the mansis through the peacock door. This, Hieronymus insists, is abomination upon abomination, but then that most abominable of doors has always been an abomination. So, intuition, you just know, you know. And, alright, fixing and mending. As they used to say in my youth, the day is done, and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So on this one, we're just going to bring the Shap back, in this case. It is winter, and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones, with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. And I think we can just go ahead and try and read the moon text. So my options here are Codex Acephali. I should probably organize these around there. Codex Acephali, sometimes called the Book of the Clean Skull. The book contains accounts of enlightenments available through the gradual surgical removal of the lobes of the brain. So this would be Snow Stories, I think. Yeah, do we have that? We do. So that would, at the very least, we can level that up to 2, and then we'd have a spare one. And then Hill and Hollow, which I believe is a new skill overall. I'm slightly inclined to acquiring the new skill in this case. So let's try the Queen's turn. So here we'll add the Edicts Martial. Again, I'm going to double check here that this is my best moon. It is. And again, counterintuitively, we're going to add the Intuition and the Lunar Globe. Actually, hang on. No, in this case, I'm actually going to add the Fog. And the logic here is that any single item that it asks for, I should be able to satisfy. Except for the visitor. Actually, even then, if it asked us for a visitor, we could just hire the fisherman, I think. So, perhaps you provided moon, but not enough to match mystery moon. If you're lucky, you might still succeed. Okay, so at the minimum, this is going to be two new Catwink that we can produce. The Locksmith's Dream, Portions and Proportions, the second volume of Teresa Galmier's examination of the parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. The frontispiece has been slashed with a razor. In this volume, Galmier records fewer dreams and explicates more on her own elaborate theories. We see this again and again. What is below can't escape what is above. The finest artisans all dream of the white door in the end. I'm no artisan, only a scholar. I think there's a secret that all these artisans know, but I think that secret is only half the story. All right. So let's keep our attention on... Oh, yep, okay, we're still good there. Let's keep our attention on the moon. So again, one of the things that I want to be doing, if I can, is I'd like to get my ducks in a row as far as all of the different skills that I can commit to the Tree of Wisdoms. So the idea here is that if I need them during a salon, I should just be able to lock them into the Tree of Wisdoms right away. Now, I can also, for some of them that I'm sure it's like, okay, I'm definitely going to want this in like position 2 on the Tree of Wisdoms. Those I can lock in right away because I also need the elements of the soul as part of my day-to-day. But the drawback is that when you commit on these lower branches, you're also kind of committing to not having that available to you for something else. So for instance, the fact that I can make the peribiot through something like weaving and knotworking, that can be really helpful in cases. So sometimes I maybe want to level that up just so that I can have access. Okay, so opportunities. Awen, divine inspiration, or just the right breath of air at the right moment. Stuff, also things, possible inspiration from irrelevant things. So in that case, we just basically put any old... Oh, wow, an epiphany as well. All right, so the thing should be able to help me out here. So I'll use the shaft to earn a bit of money. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. I think I should have planned that a little bit better. It would have been better for me to use the shaft to... Yeah, I should have used the shaft to generate a memory. I'm going to make it up, though, so I'm going to use... Again, this is going to seem weird. I'm going to use the Tryst, because I can always buy back the Tryst. So I'm going to use that to generate the Gossip. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a well, let's make sure that I get a satisfaction out of this. The Orchid Transfigurations, A Feast, a compilation of quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. This is in the original Latin. The illustrations are certainly striking. They flush the skin and glow beneath the eyelids after the book is closed. We must devour to be devoured. We cannot be undevoured, as we cannot be unborn. Intuition. Interesting. Just as well I didn't go all in on the Grail book then. Okay. So a little bit of a shame there. But we will make do. So, Desires and Dissolutions, use this lesson to acquire a new skill. This does leave some awkward questions in terms of how I'm going to get my my Grail higher, though. I'll... See, it says when it's used up in crafting. I do wonder if I can use this to... You know, I have more than one Pale Mommet. Maybe I should just try and see if I can use this to read a book. Because it's a little I think this should use it up in terms of a book, but I don't know for sure. Okay, but let's focus on the task at hand. So I need to get the lunar globe back, but again, we've got at least two... Okay, so we'll use the Pale Mommet. If it warns me, it'll use things up. So if we do Thirstlies, Ivories, and Lovelies, I combine Sea Stories. Well, I still need 2 Grail for that, so... Slow down and go to Intimations of the Skin instead. Don't want to craft a Witching Tisane. Alright, Grail Birth. I can master this mystery. Enough Grail to match Mystery Grail. And... yeah, we're just going to sit on the rest of it. Okay, stuff, also things. Fiddle with something here. So this time we'll use the Velvet. Aha, right. A bunch of stuff ceased to be a thing. Oh, I wonder if the lunar glow... No, hang on. There's got to be like a chair. Oh, right, but there's so many things that aren't things... Right, okay. So let's just mouse over to find some things. So this should be edge, sky. It's gonna be a real heartbreaker if I can't find the moon one. So Westcott almost certainly is forge. I'd prefer not to use a consumable, but I'm also at the point here where I might want to lower my standards a little bit. Right, so these are comforts. These are no longer things. So the can... Oh, hang on. We found some use for the sand. Or the sea glass. Moon culmination. All right. The Queen's Turn, a 16th century translation of the Barrowchild's account of Lagia's turn, when Lagia, the queen unsated, was offered the opportunity to enter the service of the Hours of the Triple Knot as long as she repudiated her brother-lover Antaios. Lagia accepts, setting aside the arts the low red sun associated with Antaios. She bargains, however, for freedom for her daughters. The Hours of the Triple Knot accept casually, knowing that Lagia has devoured her daughters, but wily Lagia has decided, in the secret hollow of her heart, that she will adopt any who ask, if they can prove their fierceness. The traditions described here, the ones generally described as hill and hollow, are associated with Lagia before her turn, but now that she is name of the Red Grail, they might also be safely used before an altar of the Triple Knot, which of course we have used. We've taken this information to find a secret of the house. We're not there yet, though. All right, Sea Spray, Depth Sorrow, 2 hill and hollow lessons, so that's another use for my tryst when the time comes. But let's get the zinc brewing. Brew a minor ink with a virtue against vermin. Another leaf on the Tree of Wisdoms. Desires and dissolutions. The boundaries between flesh, pearl, and pleasure are equally contingent. I don't know if I left a gap here intentionally, or if I was just assuming there was something that filled that in, but we'll leave that aside here. And in fact, my tryst is really popular today. So I think with the money we get from the shaft, I should restore another tryst so I can level up the desires and dissolutions that I get out of it. There may be a second one that we can do that with as well, but I'll make sure that I have the elements of the soul that I probably will have them actually. So, as I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Okay, so here we will bring back a tryst. So again, the logic here is that I've got the confounding parable right now, which I can use to level up, or to create another catwink. I will have the desires and dissolutions, so level 2 I can bring up with the salt. But if I wind up with something like a satisfaction out of intimations of the skin, I'm actually well on my way to yet another level with desires and dissolution, so I may want to have a tryst available to work with that as well. All right, so there's Hill and Hollow, the ways of the hill children and the gods from stone, old paths, old secrets, the songs that still echo beneath the earth. And there's my Red Book of Brittany, a volume of ink lore gifted to St. Brendan's by Brian of Brittany, who was made Earl of Cornwall after the Norman Conquest. I don't think I've got... Yeah, that won't fit. Just kind of cram it wherever. I definitely need to free up these shelves. At the very least, I probably don't need 3 different shelves for sorting all of this. Still, different priorities. Actually, yeah, so let's not even worry about Desires and Dissolutions. We can already level up Hill and Hollow. Right, there's always more to learn. Improve the skill to level 2. So let's rearrange a few of these. Dark and Pungent. I think I may actually wind up spending the rest of the day restoring Tryst elements of the soul. I'm trying to remember what I was going to put Desires and Dissolutions into. Because the other thing that's funny about this is that I was reflecting a little bit, and there's a couple of skills that, in my view, actually kind of make sense to have as like top tier ones. Edict's Martial is a really good example of that, because Edict's Martial just gives you some crazy stuff that you can't get elsewhere. So in addition to being a very useful skill on its own, just making it easier to get access to certain things. Also, skills that wind up giving you, you know, the Incastum Terminale are also really helpful. So the funny thing is that in some cases, if I'm looking to commit things to the Tree of Wisdoms, the ones that I'm actually going to take up to level 9 don't always make the most sense to level up early, because if I need those elements of the soul to do things like Salons, then I'm sort of working at cross purposes. So I think Desires and Dissolutions, though, is one of those ones that I'm willing to use for sort of lesser tasks. We'll see, though. Okay, so I don't have any Tryst, so I'm not going to be able to do anything with Inks of Containment right now, and we'll see what we're getting close to the end of the day, so I'm going to need to make some decisions. Okay, so it's the end of the day. Better now. So one thing is for sure, we're going to use the Tryst with the Confounding Parable to make another Catwink. Brew a minor ink with a virtue against vermin. So let's think about the next step here. What are the possibilities if we, when we finish reading the Intimations of Skin? So one might be that we have something like Satisfaction. Well, if we have Satisfaction, clearly we're not going to use that to read the Orchid Transfigurations of Birth. However, we may want to use that to level up Desires and Dissolutions. And in this case, I just need the one memory. Now, is there any other memory that I could use for that? Technically, yes, I could use the Old Wound. Okay, fair enough. So with that in mind, I guess really this is just still another argument for me to bring back a Tryst. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to... There's no situation in which I can use it to bring in a... to brew another ink. But what I can use it for is leveling up Desires and Dissolutions. That's only going to take 30 seconds. Okay, the Intimations of Skin. Fiendishly complex, weirdly distorted illustrations of Congress and anatomy by the haunted visionary painter Niels Friedrich Malsker. Malsker illuminates the evolutions of the names of the Grail with unfortunate clarity. It seems that a lovely who consumes an ivory becomes an ivory. A lovely who consumes a thirstly becomes a thirstly. A lovely who consumes a name of another hour might take its place. The penultimate illustration, a lovely grapples with a fungoid knot that can only be a name of the crowned growth. The lovely's mouth and other portals gape wide, and the growth name is already partially engulfed, but it seems that Malsker couldn't bring himself to illustrate the result, and the final illustration is only a scrawled, bloated obscurity. So that's Beguiling Melody. So that I think I might hang on to instead of the cheerful ditty for obvious reasons. And we'll do yeah, okay, actually, so this... No, I'm not, because I use the beguiling melody to level up desires and dissolutions, and then we can hang on to the cheerful ditty. Okay, yeah, it doesn't really matter then. But yes, we made the right call in terms of bringing back the tryst. And I may actually want to take desires and dissolutions up to 4. I think that one I was going to put into Bosk, if memory serves. So if I had to do it, I guess we could do Furs and Feathers. Well, Furs and Feathers or Spices and Savors. It's one of the other two would work for Bosk, and then we can do Desires and Dissolutions at the next level. It is sort of flying by the seat of my pants, but honestly, I do need to start making some decisions, particularly when it comes to things that I may use in the salon. Okay, so there's another Catwink. So that's 3 of the invitations. I can actually start writing these invitations. I should probably have started that earlier. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I've got 6. So I could also invite Douglas Moore. Does it make more sense for me to invite Arthur or Douglas? I actually don't know. Either way, so we need Lantern for one of the Moors, we need Moth for Olympi, we need Scale for Fraser, and we need... So I think we could probably only handle... You know, I don't even know if I can invite anybody from this desk. So we'll use Westcott's desk instead. So request Serena's presence. I'm also going to start putting some check marks beside people's names to make sure I've invited them. One final thing that I think I should do is, because I'm now in the Regensburg room, I should probably move my other possessions there as well. All right, better now. I also need to make sure that I'm leveling things up before it's too late. So, Desires and Dissolutions, Beguiling Melody, Lesson, Tryst. There's always more to learn. I know we're going over time, but I'll finish off the day, and then we can... I'll do my usual to-do list. Or not usual, but I'll turn it into a usual thing now where I give it a to-do list. So now I just need to post it. Okay, so that's Serena. Let's see which other ones we can get out of the way real quick. So if I take Ambrose's desk... Actually, this one will be easier. So we go to Natan's desk. I'm going to add the... Okay, so still adding Catwink. Now surely I have some kind of mothy... Oh, really? Looks like I have to use a memory then. All right. Well, that's a bit of a pity, but so I believe that is Madame Bichet. Madame Bichet is a little harder than or hang on, this doesn't have moth, does it? No. Okay, so Forge. Don't think we have what it takes for the scale. Wow, we're even coming up short on the lantern. I need memories for all these people. Okay, fair enough. Oh, but we don't know about Corso. Corso's probably Grail. No, Corso also needs lantern. Okay. Fair enough. So, a little bit more than I was expecting, but that's fine. So we've got the inks. What we need now are the memories. So the salon cooking's done. The invitations aren't. And that's actually not a major hard. So the thing that's going to be a little weird about this is just trying to find the balance between using my elements of the soul for generating memories for the invitations, while also pursuing the lessons that I can. So we're almost halfway through winter. I don't want to completely ignore the salon, just because that is, I'm hoping that it's going to wind up giving me some lessons that I can work with. So in terms of things that I can work... Oh, hang on. What was I using to level that up? Right. Beguiling melodies. Okay, so under, I guess, out of the things that I can reasonably expect to read, so the Orchid Transfiguration's A Birth, I guess in the grand scheme of things, I'll have Desires and Dissolutions up to level 3. Yeah, so we'd have 4, 6, 8. So we definitely should expect to read Orchid Transfiguration's A Birth, which would give me level 2 of Resurgences and Emergences, which we do not yet have. Sights and Sensations is also one that we haven't read yet. Oh no, we do have this. Okay. So that's one that we would level up. I don't see us getting Beekeeper's Ends and Etery after taken care of. Thursley's Ivories and Lovelies would require rain. And we're not strong enough in Moon to do the Codex Acephali yet. Okay, so there's not too much that's changed in terms of the potential. We don't have a Faust yet. We don't have a Fet yet. So these are the obvious ones that we'll get access to. But again, we need to actually commit some things to the Tree of Wisdoms to be able to get those elements of the soul. So I don't know. Here's what I think we'll probably do next week. Definitely I want to sort of empty the well in terms of the obvious steps for me. So something like Orchid Transfiguration's A Birth, that's a bit of a no-brainer. Now that I've got Beguiling Melodies, I should be following through on that. Glimmerings, let me just make sure that I've got. So 5, 7 with the metal, 8 with a whatever, mortar and pestle, spanners, square. There's a few different items we can use for that, and then a foresight. So yeah, we definitely can read Glimmering, or Glimmerings. Okay, so we should treat it like we have 2 books available for us. I'm not too worried. I should at some point try and do some gardening, but that's not a major concern right now. So maybe what we say is we use the Arab gives us the Orchid Transfigurations. The metal gives us Glimmerings. The Two Shapt gives us the memories that we need for them. So that leaves us the option of the core health and Tryst to come up with the right balance of inks and invitations. Yeah, I like that plan. Okay, so that's where we're going to leave it. As always, thank you very much for watching through the series with me. I know it was probably more 40-minute episodes this week rather than the other ones. It seems that the kind of consensus is that the longer ones are a little more popular, but I do know YouTube tends to favor... I mean, my style is just definitely not designed for YouTube, but I don't know. I try where I can. I still try and keep that 30-minute target. Sometimes they, sometimes they need a little bit longer. Sometimes I wish they were shorter. But anyways, I do appreciate you all hanging out with me. I'm sorry I wasn't able to deliver on a salon for for this week, but I think we're in a nice little position where I can actually reach a little bit further and hopefully deliver some more interesting interactions. I had forgotten that if you don't succeed in terms of the elements of the soul, you don't actually get to see the interaction. So I'm slightly more conscious of the fact that I do actually want to bring my A game when it comes to hosting everybody. Although, of course, hosting a salon with lots of interactions also gives us the potential for more interactions. So we'll see where this all goes. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Take care.